Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Swadil and today we'll be learning something called React. So why is React? React is one of the most widely used UI library to build single page applications. Big companies like Facebook, Netflix, Airbnb, Tesla have built their own website using React components. In 2020, React is considered as one of the most desirable skills to have as a full stack developer. Then comes the main question. What is this React? React is basically a JavaScript library to build user interfaces. And what do you mean by user interfaces? When you go to your browser, when you browse to particular any site, whatever you see inside the browser is called as user interfaces. And React helps us to build interactive user interfaces. These are some points here which makes React better than its competitor like Angular or Vue. We'll go through each point individually. The first point states that React is declarative. So what do you mean by declarative? Okay, so before understanding declarative, you should know how the internet works. So in your browser, when you go to a particular site, like suppose you type www.google.com, after that what happened? Your ISP or internet service provider will take your request from your computer to the internet and it will search for something called Google server, which is there somewhere in the internet, and it will find the Google server and it will download some files from Google server to your computer, and those files are basically HTML, CSS and JavaScript, because those files will be required to show your page and your browser only understands HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So it will download all this file from google.com, it will store inside your browser or inside your computer, and then it will render it and you will show the Google page. Okay, so basically this HTML, CSS and JavaScript will combine and create a tree-like structure that we call as DOM, Document Object Model. And this tree-like structure will contain each part of your components, means each element you have in your HTML code, it will be as a tree-like structure. It will be looking exactly like this. So we'll form a tree-like structure from the element we got from the Google browser. After getting this DOM, what your browser will do, it will create a layout from this DOM. After getting the layout, it will paint the layout in the browser so that you can see that Google page what you are seeing now. Okay, so all this process happened behind the scenes, but it happened so fast we're not able to observe it. Okay, but for every request we do the same process. Okay, so what is then why I'm telling you all this is because before React we used to follow something called imperative architecture. And what is an imperative architecture? I'll show you. So for that I'll move to my page here. So this is a site I am using, that is a Hacker News. This is a site I will be used to explain you what is imperative architecture. So what I'll do, so first thing I will show you, that is what is DOM here. If I do F12, open the developer tools, whatever you see inside this element tab, this is basically your DOM, all your elements inside one plate, and this will form a tree-like structure as I told you. So here, so I'll show you one thing. Suppose I'll take this element, this unvote element here, and I'll try to see that and observe that when I click here, what will happen? When I click on unvote, you saw something change here. And again, if I click on this button, something will change here. So what is happening here actually? On click of this button here, or the button here, we are directly changing our DOM. We are directly changing our DOM. So what will happen now? You change the DOM now. So again, it will create a layout from your DOM, and again it will paint in your browser. After that, it will be shown to you like this. So whenever you change your DOM, again it render the layout, again it render the paint, and it show you the page. But it happens so far we're not able to observe it, but it happens whenever we change the DOM. Okay, so this is called imperative architecture. We are directly changing the DOM. So every time we change the DOM, it again create the tree-like structure, and it again create the layout, and again try to paint it. Okay, so this is a heavy task for a browser. So React makes it much easier. How? In React, we divide the entire page into components. And what is components? Basically, we'll divide the entire layout page as small component. So like this, like suppose we have a navigation bar, we'll have a nav bar component, and each this component which we divide will have a special property attached to them. And what will happen? This particular component only change when that property will be changed. Other than that, this will not change ever. So if you want to change this component, if you want to change something in the layout of the component, you need to use that property to change it. So you have only one way to change the layout. So this makes React better framework than the others. So what we have, first thing we have is we divide the entire page into small components, and each component which will have some properties through which we can change that, and it is the only way we can change that. And this property you can take as a business logic. You can say that means for a particular site will have separate, like suppose in Flipkart it will have some different state or this different properties. In Amazon will have different state or property, or Facebook will have different. So basically this will have what the property I'm talking about is called as state, and it will only contain the detail about this particular component, and when that state or the property will change, this component will change. This is one benefit of React framework. We have a component based architecture, and that's why it is declarative. And how it is declarative, so we have only one part here, means we have only one component and one property, and using that property we can change this page. Okay, so this is one thing. The second thing is React doesn't directly change your DOM. Okay, so how it changes? It basically have a virtual DOM, which is an in-cache memory DOM created by React framework, and will change this framework. This one, virtual DOM, will not change the real DOM. And React have a component called React DOM. Think that as a robot, which will take care of changing the real DOM. Means we'll only change this part, and we'll leave that to this robot. This robot will take the task from us, and it will take his time to change the real DOM in any way. So it will not directly change. We are not directly changing the real DOM. So that's why we are not having that paint and all this thing. That will not happen again for us. Okay, so that hectic task will be, we can save from that. So this is the benefit of having a React component. Basically we'll just change the virtual DOM, and this React DOM component will change the real DOM for us. Okay, and the second point we have is it have a comparative algorithm. Okay, and that what I mean by comparative algorithm, so you can see that this virtual DOM, we have this node extra here. So if now this React DOM will change the DOM, so what first it will see which is the extra thing we have, and it will find that this is the extra thing we have. So we need to only change this part. So React will only change this part. It will not re-render the entire DOM again. This is the best part of React, that we only change the part which we want to change. We don't re-render the entire DOM again, and we know why that is a hectic work, because the browser need to again create a layout and again paint it. Okay, so that's why this is better. That's why the React framework is better, because we are not directly changing the DOM. And the second thing, we have a calculative algorithm which will check the real DOM with the virtual DOM, and which is the only part we need to change, that it will change, and that also will not change. There is a component called React DOM that will change for us. Okay, and this is a way, this is why it is called a declarative. Means we can only have one property for a particular component, and only for if that property change, then we can change the component, and we are not directly changing the DOM, we are changing a virtual DOM, and this virtual DOM will handle by a React DOM component. Then we can go to the second point we have, that is, it is component based. I already told you that in React we divide each part into a separate component. So what is the benefit of that? Let's discuss about that. What is the benefit of having separate component? First thing, as I told you, we'll have a separate business logic for this one. Okay, separate business. So when I change this, when I change the property of this, only this part will change. That will not impact my this part. Similarly, not this part or not this part. So only those part will be impacted. This is first benefit. The second benefit is we can reuse this, because if I want again and now but in some other website, I can take this component and use it, because these are basically have one state which will be manageable, and that when that state on the property change, we can change this component also. So this is reusable also. So this is the advantage of having component based architecture. The third point we have is compatibility. So what do you mean by compatibility? This is little tricky. So what is that? UI, the React is a UI library. Okay, it's not a framework, it's a UI library. So it gives us a functionality which is only for UI development. Okay, and for backend, for any other thing, it doesn't care. You can use anything. If you are a Java developer, you can use a Java backend. If you are a Node developer, you can use a Node backend. So it gives us flexibility to have any kind of backend, and it doesn't give any restriction to that. It is just a UI framework. Okay, it doesn't have any other than, like in Angular we have to fetch API. To get API we have HTTP client API inside Angular framework, but here we don't have that. If you want to fetch something from a particular API, you need to use Axios or some other framework for that. So you can use multiple frameworks, multiple library to build your application. That flexibility is there. Okay, it's not restricted to any particular thing. That is one advantage of this. And the fourth one is it have unidirectional data flow. So what I mean by unidirectional flow, if you see our DOM, okay, this DOM is there. So we can transfer only data from a parent element to the child element. Okay, as I told you, this is called as state. Every component will have a separate property that is called as state. And when the state changes, the component layout also changes. So that state will be only passed to its child component. Okay, and the reverse is not possible. A child component cannot change state of a parent component. So that's why it is called a unidirectional flow. Initially, it is a bit confusing. When you go to code, you will understand this logic very well. Okay. The next point we have is Android and iOS application creation using React Native. So by React, we can now develop mobile and that is mainly Android and iOS application also. That is, there is a framework called React Native, which uses the same technology as a web. Only thing is some component will be new there. Okay, so if you know React, then you can develop Android or iOS application also. Okay, and the last point is we have built-in support for bundling, minification, and type conversion using Webpack. Okay, so what do you mean by bundling and minification? Basically, I told you, when you go to browser, when you go to any site, so it happens, it downloads some file from the server and it stores in your local. Okay, we'll see that what it downloads actually. So if I go to here, if I go to google.com, okay, and if I open the developer tools here, and I'll go to something called network tab. If you go to this network tab, okay, and let me close this so that it will be visible to you. So just see what will happen if I refresh here. Okay, if I refresh here, so you can see so many components got downloaded from server. So these are the thing I'm talking about. Okay, these are the thing I was talking about, means all these files are required to build this page. So you can see, it took around 5.96 seconds to load all this. Suppose you have 100 of JS file inside your application, then it will take more time to load it. Okay, and these are the files required to show your layout, and that's why it is required to have a bundling configuration in your system. Okay, so what is bundling basically means? So if I go to this slide, bundling is basically combining all your JS file into one. Okay, so if you have 5 JS file, if you have 100 JS file, it will combine it and it will make one JS file, and one static file it will make, so that it will be usable by your HTML page. So what is the benefit of that? When you go to, as I showed you in the browser, when you go to a particular site, it will only download one file from the server. So it will be less second and it will take less time, and the load in the browser will be less. Okay, so that is the advantage of having a bundling or a minification site. And the other thing we have seen is this bundling type conversion using Webpack and Babel. And Webpack and Babel are the most used configuration tool to bundling and to convert ES7 syntax to ES5. So we have a built-in support for that in React. Okay, we'll see that what configuration we have in when you go to code and when we build the application, but we have that built-in by default, so we don't need to worry about that. React, when you do create application using create React app, it is automatically handled by the React component. Okay, that is the advantage of that. And the next part and the part I want to tell you is in components. I told you components are we divide the entire page into small parts. Here the components are divided into 2 parts. Okay, the first thing is we have a class component. Okay, class component means we'll have normal classes, how we have a JavaScript classes, those classes as a component. Okay, and this you can see the syntax here. We have a class keyword like we use in normal JavaScript, and it extends from react.component, and this is called stateful component. Okay, because class component contain state, and it contain the property which will be changed. When that property is changed, the component will be changed, as I told you. Okay, and then the other type of component we have called as functional component, which is only there for the presentational purpose. Means it will not have any, first thing, it will be created as a function, and it will not have any state inside that, any property inside that. It is only there to do UI job. Okay, so there we don't have any states, and we don't change states in functional component. So that's why we call them stateless components. Okay, and stateful component, why we call them? Because it contains its own state. Like you can see here, we have like, if I give an example, okay, this contains a state. So this stateful component, as I told you, so this contains a state called seconds equal to 0. So whenever this second got changed, this entire component will be changed. Okay, but in case of functional component, this state will not have there. Okay, so now after 16.7 in React, we have something called React hooks, in which we can change, we can have state inside the functional component also, and there is something called React hooks where we can manage that. But that is again a later part, we'll learn that. But now we have the facility to manage functional component state also. Okay, so basically we have two type of component. One is stateful and another is stateless. Stateless will be only for UI purpose. There will be no state inside that. And but stateful, we have a state or we have a property there. Whenever the property changes, the entire UI will be changed. Okay, so the next thing is, now we have completed the entire path. We know what is component, we know how the layout works, we know what is Webpack and what or the bundling and all this thing. Then we'll go to our coding part now. So we'll download the React app and we'll start coding on that. So for that, I'll just move to my Google Chrome here, and first thing we need to download is, we need to go to Node.js, because to run React we need to have some prerequisites before that. So first thing we'll do is, we'll go to Node.js and download Node, because to manage React packages we'll use something called npm, that is Node Package Manager, which comes along with Node. So what is the benefit of having Node Package Manager? So that we have, whenever we have dependencies, we can manage, we can install or uninstall the dependency using this Node tool. Okay, there is something called Yarn, which is developed by again Facebook. They have created it. You can use that but my personal favorite is npm. You can use npm for that, or Node for that. So for that you need to download this Node. This is the latest version, last supported version. So I think this you can download this. This is maybe current version, but you can download it. But I prefer downloading which is the stable version. Okay, so you can download this one. Once you download that, okay, then you can go to your command prompt. Like I'll go to my project which I created. This is an open project. There is nothing inside this. And in your command prompt, you can do something like node version v to check whether you have Node or not. Like for my computer, it's saying I have the version 12.7.17.0. Maybe for you, it will be shown some versions. If some version is showing, then you have Node installed. Okay. So once you install the Node, then you can come to your VS Code. I'm using VS Code for my purpose. You can use Atom or any editor you love. Okay, but I prefer VS Code. So what you will do to create a React app, the first thing you need to do is the command is npx. You in your terminal you write npx create React app, which is the tool which will create app for us. Okay, and then the app name. For this, I'll give the app name first app. I'll give first app. Okay, so if I run this command npx create React app and the name of the app, this will be the name. You can give anything. The only thing you need to remember, you should give that name in small letter. There should not be any capital letter inside a name. This is a standard set by create React app. Okay, so if I run this now, it will take little time to complete this. So let me pause this video and then I'll be coming back. So it's completed now. We had all the dependency are downloaded and it's completed now. And you can see that we have a application create here. Okay. So first thing we need to do is in the terminal I need to go to cd first app so that I can go inside the repository. So if I do, okay, now I'm inside this. Let me open this app to explain you what we have inside the app. The first thing you can see is what we are having is node modules. Okay. What is this node module? Basically this folder contains all your dependencies related to your project, and it will have plenty because it is all the dependency given by means, so you can see Babel. I told you we need to have Webpack and Babel already installed. So this Babel is already installed, so it will help us to convert our ES7 syntax to ES5 because our browser only understand ES5. Similarly, we have some other packages also. We'll have Webpack and other these are some dependency which React is installing by default. Okay, and where this dependency is we are configuring it inside the package.json. Okay, inside the package.json we are configuring. So you can see there is a dependency tag here. Inside that, whatever the dependency we are adding, we have added few dependencies like React DOM and React scripts, and we have some testing dependency also. All this thing got added here. We have the version of them. So this package.json is basically a configuration file which tracks our dependencies. Okay, similarly we have something called dev dependency, and we can add something like particular dev dependency, we can add that. And this all file you are seeing right here, right? Whatever you are seeing here, this all three files. Okay, this files, all the dependency you are seeing in the node model is related to them. Okay, those are only downloading all things. We are not downloading it. And one more thing I want to tell you guys is what I did to create this React app is npx create React app and then the app name. So what is this npx? Maybe you have seen something called npm before. Okay, and what is this npx? Why not npm? So in two ways we can create a React app. First thing you can do is we can do either npm. Okay, sorry, not here. Just let me clear it. Okay, and let me close it so that it will look little better. So okay, so I closed it. I'll go to my terminal. Either you can do something like this, npm install. We use this command to install some dependency package to our project. So first thing you can do is npm install, and you can install this create React app. This is a package created by React, and this package is used to create our React application. So this package you can install it first, and then you can after installing it, there will be something like all this packages got added, and then you can use this create React app. Okay, and you can give the file name you want to run. Okay, the file name you want to create, like in my case the first app I've given, right? You can give like that any file name to create your first app. That is one way to do that. But the other way is npx, where you don't need to install your dependency in your local. You just directly directly execute them. Okay, npx is for directly executing something, npm is for installing it and then using it. So directly I have used npx create React app and then the app name. Okay, clearing that. The next thing which we're seeing here is package.json. As I told you, it will contain all the configuration related to a project. Like we have the dependencies here and the name of the application, which version we are in. Okay, and there's something called script. We'll see that what is the script will do. The script, basically we can create the scripts and we can run that. Okay, and it will contain all our configuration for the application. Okay, then something we have called public. Okay, and this is your folder where I told you, like at the end will be only giving the public files, mean all the static files, means all your file whichever you create in the React application, it will be bundled, and it will be one inside one file by Webpack or Babel. We have, right, the bundling and the minification tool that will convert all this JS file whichever created in the React app, and it will make one public profile, and where we'll have only one HTML page, one JS file and one CSS file. Okay, and it will refer all this file to render the page. Okay, so whatever you create here, this public file will have your the static file which will be generated from the code you write in the SRC folder. Okay, basically this is the file you will give to your client. Okay, after developing, you need to do something like this build command you need to run. So after that, it will create all the files here, and then you need to give this public folder to your client so that they can host it, or you can only host it in the server. Okay, so they can access it. So this is the way we create application. So this is the public folder is for giving the last static files to the client, or this is the file, this is the folder where we'll have the entire page and all the JS file after all this thing done. Okay, so then, and the most important fact, there is something called git ignore. You know already that git ignore is basically whatever you don't want to check in, you mention in that here. Okay, so it's already known way by us. And readme is basically to, if you want to write something for your project, you can write it. I don't care about that. And the main part which is most important, that is SRC folder. And in SRC folder we have few components. Okay, we have few components. So you can see we have so many files. We have app.css, app.js, app.taste.js, index.css, index.js, logo.svg, and all this file we have inside this app folder. Correct, we have all this file inside this app folder, and you can see that how it is related. Basically you can see if we go to this page here, this index HTML, okay, this is our index HTML, okay, and it doesn't it have a root element here. It have a root element here, and inside this root, okay, if you go to and how it starts, if you go to this index.js, we are accessing that root element here. Okay, that root element we are accessing whatever there inside our HTML. As I told you, the React we use to create single page application, so there will be only one HTML file, and in that we'll be adding element through our JavaScript codes. So basically this root, this div, so you can see that inside this HTML we don't have any code. Okay, we don't have any code written. We have only one div file here. Okay, and the ID is root. As we know in JavaScript, we can access element by a ID, by get element by ID. The same thing he is doing here, like document.get element by ID, and we are passing the root. The only confusion I had when I started in React, how this both file are related, because generally if I want to use some JS, I need to refer that in the script tag here, correct? That is the way we refer something in JS. If I see this page, it doesn't refer any script tag. Okay, it doesn't refer any script tag. So I was confused, like how it is related, how it is knowing that this index.js file is related to that index.html. Okay, I got the content that it is taking this root from the div element, but how both are related? Because generally for any JS file to reference or access the HTML, we need to reference that JS file inside our HTML. So then I got to know, if I go to node module, you can search something like React scripts. Okay, if I go to this React scripts here, there's something called if I go a little bit down here, and this React scripts contain one minute, let me check it. Yeah, this React scripts we have. Okay, inside that we have a config folder. Okay, and inside config we have all this file which is written here, and there is something called webpack config.js. As I told you at the end, webpack will bundle all this file into one, and it will be attached to this HTML. It will inject to this HTML. So we can come inside this page and we can search for something called index here. Okay, and in index we got something called app.js index. You can see that this app.js index is referencing to that src index.js. Okay, and this clears me that this index HTML from public is related to this one, so that's why it is both related. Okay, so that's what it took me little time to find out that, but at least I found out. Okay, so this is the way that it is related. It is initially confusing for me, so now I am clear with that. Like this app index.js is referencing that src index.js, and this index HTML in public will, when webpack will convert that to one JS, it will inject that to this HTML. Okay, so that's why we are not able to see it now. When you build it, after that you will be seeing that script tag there. Okay, so this is about our public folder, and this is all the source folder. Okay, and I'll go to now index.js to see, as I told you, there is a root element which is there inside the index HTML, and that we are grabbing it. Okay, and inside the index HTML you can see that we don't have anything. Okay, we don't have any code here. Okay, but if I run this project now, so what I'll do, I'll just run this project. So what I'll do, to run a project, we have a command called npm start. So if I run it, I'll just particularly run this project. Let me wait till it starts. Okay, now it is successfully built, and we can go to this port, and we can see that if I open that port here, localhost 3000, we can see this is our page which we created. We have not modified anything. It's by default given by React. So what I'll do, so my concern is how initially when I was learning React, I was worried about how this is, because I can see that inside my HTML there is nothing attached to it. There is no HTML, there is no logo, all this thing, which there is no element inside this. So how this page got loaded? Okay, that is my initial confusion. So basically how it is loading is, as you can see that in index.js we have a root element, so we are accessing the element for that HTML and we are injecting something called app inside that by using this react dom.render method. So this is a by default method. As I told you, react dom, there will be one component which will handle the manipulation of the real DOM, will only change the virtual DOM, so will not change the main DOM. So this render, react dom.render, will take care of that. So inside that we are passing the app component. Okay, app, you can see that we are passing an app, and if I see this import, this app belongs to this app.js. Okay, let me go to that, and inside this app you can see that this is basically a functional component. Okay, and this is component, this is our main component which is binded to that index.html. Okay, so whatever inside this you're seeing here, okay, this is looking like HTML, but this is something we called as JSX, that is JavaScript XML. Okay, so this is basically our virtual DOM. So this looks like HTML, but it's not HTML exactly, it's JSX, and it converts like we are creating a virtual DOM here, and at last this React DOM will convert that to real DOM. Okay, so this is what we call as virtual DOM, and this is we call JSX, JavaScript XML. So to look at see, the few things are changed here, like in real HTML we have class, here we have class name. Okay, and this kind of small changes will have in JSX, but it will exactly look like HTML code. Okay, so here you can see that we have an image link, what we are seeing in our browser, that thing is there. Okay, this image is here, we are mentioning it, so that thing we are mentioning here, and all the text we are seeing it. So from this code, that's why it is taking this code, whatever we have, the HTML code, and this is injecting this code to this index.js. Okay, and by this index.js, it is taking the this index.js is taking the root element from the index.html, which is there in the public folder, and it is taking that app component which we have there, and it is injecting here, so that we are able to see that inside our index page. All this we are able to see it. So behind the scenes, all thing happen. Okay, so this is a common thing for every project. You will have index.js which will relate it to index.html, and in index.js will inject your app component, and your app component is your brain, and there will have all the components, other components. Okay, so when I told you we'll divide our component into separate part, so this app component will handle all the part which we divided into. Okay, then this app component will take that and inject that to index.js. So we'll not change anything in this index.js. Okay, generally we don't change anything in this index.js. Basically we'll change the main part in app.js. So whatever we want, we'll change here. Okay, and basically here, this is normal JavaScript ES6 code. You can understand that we have import instead of require, we have import here. We can export directly like this in ES6 basically, and we have several. Okay, the one more functionality I want to explain you here is something like this service worker. Okay, what is a service worker.js? Is basically to create a progressive web applications. Means if you want offline facility for your app, then you can enable that, and you can see in the index.js that is unregister will be there. There is a method called service worker.unregister, and it is clearly saying that if you want your app to work offline and load faster, you can change unregistered to register, and for that you need little configuration, and we'll learn that in the later videos. But for today, just understand that the service worker is there to create progressive web app. Okay, so we have that facility to do that, and as you can see inside this index.js, we are using two main component of React. That is, first thing is React, okay, and one is React DOM. React DOM is there to convert our virtual DOM to and compare it to the real DOM and change the real DOM. Okay, so that is the work. As I told you in my slide, if you remember, there is a small robot was there, and that is basically this React DOM. It will do all the job for us. We don't need to worry about that. We only need to change this app.js and their JSX. Okay, and JSX is basically HTML like syntax, but it will have some different properties also. Okay, and we can create our custom tags, a custom component using this JSX. And you can see that we have something here also. We have imported React, as I told you, we'll be always importing React, and this app.js containing some CSS file that is from app.css. So we can attach any CSS to a particular component using this CSS. This is import. Okay, there are other way to do that. I will learn in the future classes. There are something called, we can assign the style using variables, and we'll learn that how to do that. We can assign by using class name and all this thing. We'll learn in the next classes about this. Okay, the last and final thing I want to tell you about this is app.test.js. So basically, after creating our application, we need to test it. Okay, and we basically follow here, we follow for the React, the framework we follow is Jest. Okay, and I'll be teaching you about that also. So that will be after creating our application, will be create a unit test for that. Okay, so this is all about how this architecture is related and how we are seeing the page. We can see it, and in the next video we'll see how to create our first custom components, and we'll see how we can proceed with that. Thank you everyone. If you like the video, please subscribe it. Thank you.